Dawn.
And that was Dawn Wood, the nurse. The one thing that she said.
Hi, we are here live in South Minneapolis, right on the corner of Lake and 12th Street. As you can see here, there is a protest that is happening. Individuals have gathered here in Minneapolis today to stand in solidarity with the women who were forced hysterectomies in Georgia. Not sure if you've heard of this story, but a whistleblower by the name of Don Wooten is the one who really exposed what was happening in Irwin County Detention Center in Georgia. And so it appears as though dozens of immigrant women who are being detained were given hysterectomies without consent. And so what you're seeing here right now in Minneapolis is dozens of individuals from immigrant communities, from Hispanic communities, from Native communities standing in solidarity and saying, stop sterilizing immigrant women. That's the name of today's protest. And what we've heard from speakers so far is the history of sterilization that's happened for centuries here in America and around the globe. Personally, some history that I know in the African American community dating back to the westernized medicine, the gynecology sector of Western medicine, where J. Sims actually performed a lot of different procedures on slaves that he bought. A lot of those women did not get any type of anesthesiology, and so as we know it today, OBGYN practices were actually learned from the procedures that doctor did on enslaved African women without their consent. And so what we know about the forced sterilization of individuals is that it is a tactic used for genocide. And so the community is standing up against this, of what happened in Irwin County. And right now we do have a speaker who's talking, so we'll go ahead and let you take a listen to what's happening here in Minneapolis.
Abused. Not one more. Not one more. Not one more. That needs to stop. It needs to stop. It's not just women who are born cis women. It's our trans women. It's our non-binary folks as well. Because how long, we all stand in solidarity. How long is it going to take? What's it going to take for it to stop? What's it going to take for it to stop? We almost burnt this damn city to the ground because they killed a man in this city. I'm willing to burn this city 100 times to make sure that women, that trans folks, that non-binary folks, that all people are treated have the basic human rights. We shouldn't have to beg for basic human rights. We shouldn't have to beg for basic human rights. We should be able to walk down the street without feeling in fear. We should be able to go to the doctor and be heard. Too many black women have died in childbirth. That is not right. How in a country as rich as the United States are women dying in childbirth? That should not happen.
That's right.
Not one more person dying of childbirth. We're not mutilating women at the border. It's to stop. Our Native sisters shouldn't be disappeared and murdered anymore. And like it was said before, I stand in solidarity with MIRAC. I stand in solidarity with our immigrant brothers and sisters, our undocumented brothers and sisters, or I should say siblings, sorry. Our undocumented siblings, because we're all fighting the same enemy. We're all fighting the same damn enemy, and it's capitalism. It's capitalism. Capitalism is what is killing us. It's not just hurting us, it is killing us. It is literally killing us. You know, they thank the frontline workers during this pandemic. Who are the frontline workers? Who are the people working at the grocery store, working at the nursing homes, working at the hospitals? It is black, indigenous, and brown and Native women working mistreated. We're still abused. And that should stop. That needs to stop. That needs to end today. And like I said before, I will burn this city and every city across the country 100 times if it means I get my rights and you get your rights. That's all I gotta say, but thank you. But I want to say a few names before we go. So we're gonna say Breonna Taylor's name. We're gonna say Roxana Hernandez's name, and we're gonna say, okay, well, we'll say those two names. If y'all think of other names, say them too. So say your name. Say your name. Say your name. Say your name. Now Roxana Hernandez. Say your name. 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 Sandra Bland. Say your name. Say your name. Say your name. Say your name. Thank you.
If you know this, la poli, la migra, la misma porquería. 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 If y'all don't know what that means, that's saying the police, the ICE, it's the same bullshit. It's the same thing that keeps holding us down as BIPOCs. It's the same damn thing. And I think what we need to remind ourselves is how we got here in the first place. When it comes to the border, not even a year ago, there was a caravan of people that came from Central America and came up here to the United States seeking asylum. What people don't understand is that back in the 1960s, 70s, America went down there and actually teared that place up. They basically raped and abused the culture of Central America. Hence why they can even apply for asylum. And yet people don't know that. People don't understand that they are seeking justice. They're seeking justice in their lives to thrive as humans. Because what they left in their countries was shit. They left them with nothing. A bunch of capitalistic companies thriving off of their own cultural resources. And they're coming here. Period. Not even just that.
That's right. Get your money.
Not even just reparations. Just for them to be human and living and thriving as well as they should to survive. And that's something we always got to remember at the end of the day. Is that they might say that we're immigrants and we don't deserve this and we have to work for it. I say bullshit. I say bullshit. Because at the end of the day, you're a goddamn human. And you don't have to work your whole damn life for this system in order for you to prove yourself as being human, to prove yourself as being a citizen. Too often, I've met people, even my own age, where they have to work from 8 to 11, not even from 11 to 11 at night, all day. And what do they get? Yeah, they get money at the end, but what are they living for? What are they living for? They're not even living. I see that all the time in my community. And so often, they say that we party hard, but that's because we're not living. We want to feel our lungs breathing. We want to feel ourselves thriving, and we crave for that. But we can't. So I want to introduce Mariana because right now she's going to sing a piece that Mirak wrote up on behalf of the women at the border that went through this. All right. Okay. I'm kind of nervous. Okay. You got it, girl! Okay. So this is something a fellow member of Mirak wrote this. I just want to give credit to them because this is their words. But the most surprising thing to me about this situation is that people are actually talking about it. I'm no longer surprised by the unrelenting cruelty and
There is a long history of forced sterilizations of women deemed unworthy to reproduce. How could I be surprised? I am outraged by the fact that the U.S. has been able to torture all of its minority groups while tricking us into hating one another. The act of solidarity by Don Wooten is a symbol that this hatred among African Americans, Latinx, and other minority groups is coming to an end. With such a powerful oppressor, we cannot help to unite. We must unite. Maybe Dawn Wooten spoke up because she was tired of seeing history repeat itself at the expense of women of color. Maybe she was thinking of the 60,000 Native American women who were tricked or forced into giving up their power to bear children in the 70s, who were told a hysterectomy would cure their headaches when in reality they had brain tumors, who were threatened with prison if they didn't give up the children they had and consent to hysterectomies, all because the racist welfare reps said their home was too dirty. Dawn Wooten could have been thinking about her own community when black people were considered no more than 3/5 of a human in the U.S. Constitution, and it was illegal for them to reproduce during Jim Crow. After slave owners could not legally chain these women, they found new forms to abuse and tie their bodies. Eugenics was designed to control the development of the U.S. gene pool. In southern states, black women were the victims of 65% of forced sterilization through hysterectomies or far more invasive procedures. Perhaps Dawn Wooten was thinking about all the Latina women who have been unknowingly sterilized in the U.S. These women who go to the doctor even though they don't speak English, to seek help from professionals that are supposed to put health above all else. These women return to the doctor months later with concerns. Only then do they find out that their uterus was removed, that they have signed away their power to produce life without even being able to read the form. Or maybe she just saw women. As a nurse, she saw women fighting to survive, all while trying to keep their children entertained and safe. Women who had already had everything taken away, their Bibles, their ability to feel the wind on their faces as they watched the stars, their joy, their autonomy taken away for the sake of the patriarchy, the sake of white feminism, of white supremacy. Because these women were not born within these God-forsaken borders. This is not history repeating itself. This is genocide and colonialism continued. Beginning with invasion, settlement, murder, rape, kidnapping, and continuing its natural course through the construction of borders and cages and forced hysterectomies. The hatred and fear of the body and spirit of black, brown, and indigenous women has not been diminished. This is why it is so important that we follow the lead of Dawn Wooten and heed the words of Dolores Huerta. Porque el pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido. El pueblo unido jamás será vencido.
Been in the fight since day one. Give it up, y'all, for this amazing poet, this amazing person, human, I don't know, a daughter. She's an amazing picture. Period. So, Angelica.
Can we give it up one more time for that speech and for that all the facts that were shared with us? Buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Angélica. Me no toca Angélica. My name is Angélica. And first off, I want to recognize and acknowledge that we are in Dakota land. And so if you guys can with me, at the end we're going to give our thanks. Before I start my poem, as many as all of us here, I am frustrated, I am mad, and I know this has been happening for a long time, but like, fuck. It's been so fucking long, and this is like proof, in my view, for a long time, they have declared a war on us. And so, as someone had said earlier, we will lit up our city if we have to, and not even just our city. I'm talking about the burbs. We're gonna go tackle the burbs. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know if we even can, which we probably will, because it's possible. Anything's possible. We need to remember that our ancestors resisted. That is the reason why a lot of us are here. That is the reason why I am here. This brown skin didn't just come from a mama. It came from my abuelita and my tatarabuelita and everyone that came before me. So I am here, and I'm proud to say that I am a proud indigenous Latina, and I will make sure that I resist as much as I can, because these women and these children do not deserve this. No merecen esto. That's right. And this goes to my... We need to keep fighting. The revolution is just starting. So, like, long live the revolution that's gonna happen. Because these colonizers, they're gonna get it. They're asking for it. They're abusing our women. They are raping our children. They are killing our people. Fuck! Fuck ICE! Fuck law! Fuck the government! Fuck anyone that stands against us! So if they want war, we will give them war, because war is in our veins. Resistance is in our veins. Fuck, we got this, okay, y'all? And stay mad. Don't. The moment that we all think that this is normal, when we just keep scrolling, that is the moment that they've won. Because killing a man because of his color, because the color of her skin, or sterilizing our women because they don't want us to reproduce no more because of the genocide that they have in their head. No! That is not normal! That is not normal! Our kids in cages! Think about your little sister, think about your brother, think about your cousin, think about any little kids that are here right now. It is not normal to see a kid in a cage. It is not normal to see another black or Latino man or indigenous man murdered. It is not normal for our mujeres to be sterilized and just put them without their consent. That is not okay. That is not okay. So we'll get into it, come on. Fuck ICE, fuck 12, and fuck the government. This is a reality of waking up at 6 in the morning, making sure your siblings get to school, giving them that smile that says, it'll be okay. Swallowing the uncertainty that it might just be the last day you see them get ready, rushing to catch that yellow bus, because as soon as you walk through that door, you are vulnerable. You start playing hide and seek with the family heartbreakers, where they will break your Latinx pride, and you need to hide because you need to hide and pretend I am white for me to pass by, and make sure once I get home I don't have to say goodbye. This is a reality of sitting on my desk wanting to solve this math problem. Remind me if I can even solve my own status problem, because the deadline already passed and the government hasn't agreed, creating what ifs and what can'ts, counting down the 259 days late of your 2-year protective status. See, unknowingly staying determined, looking for colleges we might not even be able to attend to, but hustling each and every day, doing what you can, forgetting you're still a teenager, but at least you haven't been caught by la migra. This is a reality of how work is paying bills and saving up a stack in case you do end up going back, because you're watching to see no red and blue come by, because then they'll hand you straight to green, where they, the family heartbreakers, will break your Latinx pride and stitch into that broken heart trauma. This is a reality of a 16-year-old undocumented Latina who has to take care of her siblings, fighting to finish high school and working to help pay bills, worrying about college and her aspirations, yet at the same time worrying about her future being taken away because of DACA, balancing at a mountain's peak. Having mouths, stabbing my creativity, stereotypes sit up on my skin, dreams of what people call imposible, cries of surrender, of go back to your damn country. But then I see my madrecita. Échale ganas, mija. I know, Mom. I'm trying my best. I'm not drugs or some gangs. Esto es realidad. The harsh truth of breaking families apart. Fear that the next day you might not wake up to see your siblings or your mother or your sister or your brother or your cousin or the person sitting right next to you or the person standing in front of you. Esto es realidad. Fearing that the next day you might not wake up to see your siblings or your mother, that because of your society status you have to leave everything behind and go to the place where you were born but not raised, es realidad. El miedo que tenemos que cargar por no ser blanca o ciudadana. So let me tell you this, I am not your bargaining chip. I am not your quotation marks criminal, and in no way do you get to decide if I'm an illegal alien or illegal criminal, or you're about to see my hidden words will speak louder than the shadows you built. Yes, I'm a dreamer. Yes, I'm scared of your feelings at the same time. Yes, I'm the disruption to your system. Yes, I'm the cornflakes y la India Maria. Yes, I'm the tamales y los frijoles en sí. Soy mexicana, indígena, orgullosa de todos, and I'm educated, and I promise you that your nightmare of my dream becoming the first undocumented Latina artist president will be a reality. Esto es una realidad. Es una realidad. I'm not 16. That was a little I wrote that 3 years ago. Where DACA was uncertain, and it was in a limbo. And Trump was deciding to use us as chips to have a wall. And here we are now, 3 years later, and I'm still on the edge of worry about deportation. I'm tired. I'm so tired of this fight, like many of us. But I also know that there are many undocumented children still coming in. I also know that still many undocumented families are coming in. And because of that, I am not going to give up. And because of that, I want to make sure that once I leave, I can at least provide a space where our undocumented members are no longer undocumented. Because you know what? This is our fucking life! And it was built by us. It was built by us, and it continues to be built sorry, respectfully, it was called Turtle Island. Turtle Island is beautiful because of us. So, yeah. So let's keep fighting, okay? And we will make sure we are still here to push it up. So I'm gonna give my thanks to nature and to Earth. So if y'all can join with me, in Nahuatl, thank you translates to Tlazo Kamati. If y'all can say that, Tlazo Kamati. And then Tierra Yahuat means in Nahuatl it translates to Tlali. So we would say Tlazo Kamati Puerta Tlali. So we put our hands in our hearts. And we say Tlazo Kamati Puerta Tlali. And really and long live the revolution!
Let's get one more round of applause for Angelica.
Say loud, say clear!
Immigrants are welcome here.
Say loud, say clear!
Immigrants are welcome here.
Say loud, say clear!
Immigrants are welcome here.
Period! Y'all better know that. Everybody better know that. So we want to acknowledge the land that we're on as well. That we're on Dakota land. And this land is something that we really do take immense advantage of, to the point where we dictate whatever it is we want to do on it. And we don't realize that in everyday actions and everything that we do, the people we acknowledge, we don't realize the OG people who took care of it way before all of this even came about. So I hope y'all can acknowledge that in your hearts and your minds. But we're going to introduce Joe Vital. He's an enrolled member of the Red Lake Nation, chair of the Native People Caucus, DFL. So give it up for Joe!
First of all, I'd like to thank the relative back there who acknowledged Turtle Island. This is Dakota land, and our bodies are healing, but more importantly, the land is healing. But sadly enough, many Dakota people have been exiled from their land, except for particular groups that still remain here. So that when we talk about borders, that's just not an undocumented issue. It is a native problem as well. We have treaties. We are all treaty people. This is not just an agreement between the government and tribal nations, but it's between all of us. We are all treaty people. And tell me why we do a better job at upholding the treaties than our federal government. That is a problem. Right now, this absurd border wall is going through tribal nations. They had no consultation about this absurd, inhumane wall that is going through our sacred lands and ceremonial spots. That is a problem. So when we say to all our BIPOC relatives, we stand with you. We are there with you in all of these fights. Your fights are our fights. All of these are interrelated. And I think the federal government has the audacity to act surprised when we have refugees coming here, when in the 1970s we conducted coups all across South and Central America, derailing their governments, and then we want to act shocked when they come here to the land of opportunity? No human being is illegal or undocumented on stolen land. Period. And if the government wants to keep acting surprised, I got another solution for them, men. It's called land back. So I don't want to take up too much of our time because we have so many great speakers out there, but I'd like to say Chimikwich for recognizing the land that we are on. But I want to leave it with this because everybody likes to chant, right? So when I say honor, can everybody say treaties? Honor. Treaties. Honor. Treaties. Honor. Treaties. Chimikwich. I hope.
All right, y'all, give it up for Joe. So right now the next speaker that we have is Ayana, and she is a boss-ass Latina. She's out here thriving in the community, doing community work 24/7. And she's Boricua, she out here, and she knows what she's talking about. Yeah. Period. So give it up for Ayana!
I'm here to speak on behalf of being Boricua, being from the island of Borinquen and whatnot. We have one of our elders here, Dr. Filio, representing our Boricua flag. This is nothing new, right? And what's happening to women. And let's go back even before the 1930s and 70s of the sterilization of what took place on the island of Borinquen, currently present day known as Puerto Rico. The intentional sterilization and the intentional eugenics, the policy and platforms that these policies were built on. A whole OBGYN systems are built on the use of women as property. During slavery, African black women were used to develop what we now know as current day OBGYN tools and technologies and whatever, right? That we're now here present day fighting for even the right and use of these tools and access. But it was our bodies, African black women's bodies, that were being mutilated. No anesthesia, right? So keep in mind what's going down. This is nothing new. Nothing new. And it continues to show up in different ways. So what is it how we treat life givers, women, womb holders, our earth, our tierra, right? My Baba, my father talks about how being indigenous is about being connected to the land. And that we've been removed from that. How dare anyone assume that we can go ahead and just take a human body for our own gain and whatever that is, right? And you can go ahead and research what's known as a father genealogy, right? Or gynecology, forgive me, right? And he talks about how in his writings, you know, these bodies were his property, right? Chattel slavery that was happening during that time. He could just do what he wanted, when he wanted, and use these women and children, okay? So that's the land that we stand on. That's the blood, that's the history, that's the present day. And then on our island, how many women here, womb holders, have used any form of contraception, right? Women on the island of Borinquen were used as guinea pigs. The first tested without even knowing. Because why? Because scientists, because our system said they can. Again, property. So what is it, the history of how we treat our women, our earth, our life-giving forces, that we continue to mutilate and rape and take? To present day, y'all, this is nothing new.
That ain't right.
It ain't right.
That's bullshit.
So as we're continuing honoring our land, and thank you for acknowledging the lands, honor our womb holders, honor our life givers, honor our women.
Yeah.
When I say honor, you say our women. Honor.
Our women.
Honor.
Our women.
When I say honor, you say womb holders. Honor.
Womb holders.
Honor.
Womb holders.
We gotta shift this. This ain't nothing new. It's gotta stop. And we continue to use the bodies of black, brown, and indigenous women. And how do we play a role in perpetuating this? Even as women ourselves. Even as women ourselves. We gotta get it together, y'all. Peace, much love. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, y'all, give it up for her. The boss bonita that she is. Now, I want to thank y'all so much for coming out here, because really it just shows how much it's shitty to say. It really is. The fact that this had to go down in order for like other people from all BIPOCs, even white people, to come together and be like, this is not okay. To the point where we can all agree, we can all see it in our communities, and that we really want this to stop. The sucky part about it is it's behind closed doors. It's behind those doctor's appointments. It's behind whenever a woman gives birth and then the doctor closes them up and they don't even realize it. And they can't even have babies again. It sucks because it's something that we don't get to see. It's something we're not familiar with. It's not vivid enough for us to understand how much it is present within our society. And so I hope from this y'all can educate yourself and remind yourself, why is it that you fight in the first place? Why is it that you came here in the first place? Why was this so important for you that you had to make your sign, stand there, and think, damn, this is not okay? I mean, regardless, as humans, anything that's inhumane, we should always have a reaction to it. But unfortunately, in the society that we live in, our values, whatever it is that we hold to it, is not it. It's not it. But what is it is a people, is a woman that we love and we care for, the people that we call mothers, the people that we call daughters, the people that we call sisters, the people that are suffering right now on the border, that wish they can get out. So I just want y'all to remind yourselves why you're here in the first place. Think about that. So I want to introduce our next performance. Her name is Ananya. Okay, sorry, I just want to get it right. Ananya, she's an interpreter, dancer, performer, and she's standing here to give solidarity. Give it up for her.
Thank you, friends. This is a piece created about in honor of women who are struggling with violence and assault. This has happened in the country where I was born, in India, where women were tested, tampons from this country were tested on poor women and they died of toxic shock, and it is happening now as new kinds of borders are being put on violently. I offer this to you in the spirit of solidarity. The music is created by Damien Strange.
much. Get up for her again, because that was like, that was intense. That was amazing. And it just goes to show that like people really do have passion for what we're here for, because they know that struggle, they understand what it is, that pain that they have, and they want to fight for it. So there ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Say what?
Ain't no power like the power of people, because the power of people don't stop.
Period.
Period.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna say something else. I'm gonna say this poem that I found that really resonated with me. The person who wrote this, their handle on Twitter is Grecia_writer, I think. Okay. They want me to write an immigration poem, but it has to fit into a square so it can be posted on social media. And it has to be about the struggles. And it has to overcome the struggles with education. And it has to be specific enough so it can feel real. And it has to be about everyone's immigration story. And it has to tell white people why immigrants have value. And it has to make the white people care about the immigrant stories. And it has to make me look like I'm worthy of citizenship. And it has to criminalize my parents and the rest of my family. And it has to be about DACA. And it can only be about Latinx immigrants. And it can only be about white and brown Latinx immigrants. And it can't call out the anti-blackness of brown Latinx immigrants. And it has to make immigrants look like charity cases, so it's urgent. And it has to make immigrants look strong enough to keep capitalism going. And it can't be too happy, because nobody would believe it. And it can't be too sad, because then nobody would want to read it. And it has to be perfect, the way immigrants are supposed to be perfect. But neither the perfect immigrant nor the perfect immigration poem exist. Period.
Yeah, that just goes to show how much we're boxed in, even with our pain, even with us being human, and just with our writing and who we are. And so much so to the point where the media and all this bullshit is literally colonizing us in a way we've never thought possible. And that's why we gotta deconstruct stereotypes and all this stupid shit that at the end of the day don't make no goddamn sense. No goddamn sense. So I want to say real quick, for us to take action, what we can do. So we're going to be passing out these little pamphlets of what you can do in this and how you can keep moving this forward. It's call and tweet your rep and senators to demand and do an immediate investigation into the forced sterilization of women in ICE facilities and defund ICE. Also, educate yourself. Put the damn word out there. Talk about it in your circles. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter where you go. Talk about it. Because if you ain't talking about it, then you're just saying it's okay. And the senators we're trying to hit up is Tina Smith and Amy Klobuchar. Yeah. You already know. You already know. And the reps that we want to call up is Ilham Omar and Betty McCollum. McCollum. You already know.
But yes, remember what it is to take action even in your daily lives. Educate yourself, inform yourself. And the damn cousin and the damn brother that you're just like, oh my God, I cannot stand him. This man does not know nothing about nothing, but he thinks he does. Take time. Take a deep breath. And try to have that conversation with him and see where it goes. Because at the end of the day, it's all about bringing this to light, bringing this to an acknowledgement of them at least affirming that it is wrong, of them acknowledging their humanity and how much it's fucking up everybody else's, because they're not acknowledging their own. Period. Because when you're fucked up inside and you don't realize inhumane you act towards other people, when you see other people do it, you're like, oh, that's fine, that's okay. No, it's not. It's not okay. So that's why your voices matter. That's why you have to value your own voice. And at the same time, when you do it, you're valuing others. And you're going to be that more strong of it. And you're going to build other people up. But Rome wasn't built in a day, right? Or whatever that goes, I don't even know. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, this is going to take time, it's going to take courage, it's going to take perseverance, it's going to take progress. And fuck, man, people have been in this fight since day one. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. Period. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. We are. Damn straight we are. I know for me, my dad, he's actually Zapotecan. He's an indigenous person from Oaxaca, Mexico. And y'all probably wouldn't even know that. Because of the fact that everybody thinks that everybody from Mexico are Mexicans and they're not indigenous. But Aztec, Zapotecan, Mitlat, Tarahumara, these are all indigenous tribes that reside in Mexico. And these are all people that are still being fucked up even today. The most poorest towns in Mexico are always indigenous. Always. That ain't right. The women who are murdered, there's women murdered every single day in Mexico, and most of the time they're poor and they're indigenous. And what people don't realize is that a lot of people that come up here to these borders are actually from those towns. De sus pueblos. And people don't realize that. Because they like to put us in their stereotypes, in their little boxes that we're all Mexican. No, fuck that. We're more than that. Yes. We have so much within ourselves. I know for me, unfortunately, I'm not able to learn Zapotecan. Because for them, they had to go to Mexico and adapt the dominant culture, which was Spaniard. And now, from them here, I mostly speak English, and that in itself is the form of colonization within myself. And I think that's what people need to realize. It's more than real than what you fucking think. It's so much real. It's so much more vivid. I wish my grandma still speaks her indigenous language, but I can't even speak to her like that. I can't even understand her love language. And my father has given up on that. Because he thinks the way to persevere in life is to go with the status quo. It's to go with whatever it is at this box that you can thrive in, to thrive all you want. But at the end of the day, you're not human. You're not who you are. You're not carrying on traditions. You're not carrying on the pain. You're not acknowledging that. So in that said, yeah. And that being said, one last thing we've got to share is that we're going to be having a protest, marching for DACA and TPS on the 30th. There's going to be flyers going to be passing around. I really hope y'all can make it because this is something that is a human right issue and we all got to be fighting for it. But I want to acknowledge it, the danzantes, the Mexica danzantes that are going to come in here and perform for us to close this off.
How's everybody doing out here? Yeah. You know, it's been a long 2020. 2020, the time and space 2020 has given us is a different kind of time and space that we're used to. But, you know, it's been many, many years, many, many generations of injustices. And so to be here with my newborn, who I just gave birth to 4 months ago. She was born at home. Her name is Shupaltekpani, which means she who carries the essence of the fire, the blue turquoise fire, the eagle and the flint knife. And with her carries along, in her, she already carries the eggs inside her ovaries of generations of grandmothers and mothers and aunties in her genetic system. And so we're here today fighting. There isn't any one of us here who did not come from the womb of a beautiful, strong woman. We need to honor the womb. For the women out here, you have your womb wisdom. We carry our womb wisdom from our grandmothers. And it doesn't matter what fight that they were in, the trauma that they had, they were resilient and they persevered and they always hoped for a better generation. Sorry, she's like, let me get some of this. And so, today, we're gonna dance, we're gonna honor our mothers. We're gonna honor our mothers and our grandmothers. We're gonna honor our babies and the next generation of womb holders. Because none of us would be here, standing out here today. We can't just come out every time we hear something in the news. We have to put our tobacco, our sacred medicine out. We have to light our sage, our copal, our palo santo. And it's not just prayers. When people are like, oh man, these prayers don't work. They do work, but we have to put it also into action. How are you honoring mothers today? How are you honoring grandmothers today? How are you honoring aunties today? And so that's how we fight. It's not always going to be in the form of marching. It's within ourselves. How are we breaking generational trauma? How are we breaking historical trauma? Honor yourselves. When we honor ourselves, when we heal ourselves, that means we are building a better community and we are building community power. So I just want to say on behalf of Kalpulia, Senoshli, and dancers from Mexica Yolot and Huitzilin, we are here today to support alongside with each and every one of you. We are sending energy to every single one of those women who have been violated and stolen from. And we have to remember that those are our birthright. It's our birthright to give birth. Whether we choose to have a baby or not, it is our birthright to carry our womb. It is our decision what we want to do with our bodies, not anybody else's. And so, I want to say thank you again to the organizers, these young women here who are fierce and fearless, who put this together last minute, to the adults that give them space to do so. Thank you. Thank you for fighting for these little ones that we carry in our rebosos. So with that said, we're ready to dance and hope you feel that energy back with us.
For Kapoli Yashmandia. They'll be dancing over there. Go over and see the dancers if y'all want to. Please and thank you.
So if you're just tuning in, we are streaming live on Lake Street and 12th Avenue for the Stop Sterilizing Immigrant Women gathering and protest. Over 100 people have gathered here today to say what is happening in detention centers across the country is not okay. And so we're going to go ahead and take a look at this tribal dance ceremony that's happening right now.
voice. We are here. We need to continue. Doesn't matter if the winter's coming. Put your prayers out there. Put it into action. Use social media as our weapon of technology. Use it against them. They use it against us. We'll give it right back to them. The mass media that's out there that's putting up lies, look at our media that is for us. We have Unicorn Riot that's out here. We have so many of our people that are present, showing the truth, showing the fight. We're not going to stop. The dances that we're doing here today are for our women, for our babies, for our children. And so just remember that this is a fight that has been happening for generations. It didn't just happen when CNN released it this week. It's happening around the world. And so we have to continue. Please, please honor your women. That's the first step. Women, honor yourselves. Honor yourselves. Honor your wisdom. That intuition that tells you, man, this ain't right. That's right. It's not right. Follow that instinct. It was gifted to us. It was gifted to us. Use it. We're going to do a couple more dances. We want to say thank you on behalf of Kalpulia Sinoshti, Meshika Yole, and Mateen. We're going to offer a couple more dances. You know, I came in here with a really heavy heart, and dancing is always healing. Hearing the drum is always healing. And so thank you for having us out here today to share this space with you. internal selves, right? So the biggest battle, the biggest fight we have is actually the battle within ourselves. The things that we have to learn new, right? We can't unlearn certain things, but we can learn new things. We can bring new things into our bodies. We can bring new things into our communities and into our neighborhoods. We can bring new things into our families. So, with that said, this last dance is to each and every one of you, and the extensions of yourselves, the extensions of your families, the extensions of the generations that came before you. We give back our sweat and our tears and our happiness and our sadness into this dance for each and every one of you. That you may be able to continue this fight, that we may be able to continue this fight. There is a lot of division happening in our community. And we need to come together. We need to come together and show up in solidarity. We don't all have to be best friends. But if we're going to fight and win against the things, the people, the systems that are crushing us, we have to come together. So again, just want to say thank you. Thank you for having us out here today. May the ancestors guide you in your path. May you stay healthy and safe during this time. And remember, be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and be kind to yourself. Because if you're kind to yourself, you're kind to others. So just remember that. Class of Tomati, thank you.
just tuning in, we are streaming live from South Minneapolis, right on the corner of Lake Street and 12th Avenue. Today's gathering is called Stop Sterilizing Immigrant Women, and it's in light of what recently was unveiled about what was happening in Irwin County Detention Center. A whistleblower, a nurse by the name of Don Wooten, highlighted that dozens of women who did not consent actually had hysterectomies inside of that detention center. And so today, community is gathering here in Minneapolis, saying that it's not right what's happening, and also to highlight the history of sterilization that has happened in this country for centuries. It was actually legal about 100 years ago in Virginia, 1924, the Racial Integrity Act, which asked that people who had mental health issues be sterilized. Buck versus Bill, I believe, is what the Supreme Court case was called, that ruled in favor of allowing about 70,000 more people to be sterilized who had mental health issues. And so that is just one example of the legalization of forced sterilization here in our country. And so we're seeing that this is happening now modern day in Georgia. And so people are standing here in solidarity with the women who had forced and non-consenting hysterectomies. And so we're actually going to talk to one of the organizers. Her name is Isabel Lopez. She gave a speech today. She's a youth organizer and activist who helped spearhead today's gathering. We will find her here shortly, but in the interim, some other pieces of history that were highlighted today were also the development of the OBGYN practices. There was a doctor, he's kind of considered the father of gynecology, who practiced on his slaves, African women, did not give them anesthesiology. And so a lot of the devices that are used today, that we know today, practices today, were developed by him experimenting on enslaved African women. And so this is something that's been going on for centuries, for decades, but community is standing today, gathering today, saying no more. And so there has been some actions that organizers tasked protesters with today, asking them to reach out to their representatives, to their counselors, and support specific bills. And so I think we found Isabel. So we're going to head over here and talk to her. She's one of the youth organizers who spearheaded today's movement. Isabel, can you talk about the importance of why you decided to put this gathering today together?
Yeah, so it was something that I feel like a lot of times we leave this conversation behind and we don't realize that it's actually happening real present day, to the point where even when it comes out, it's such a surprise to everybody, but it really shouldn't be at that point, because they've done this to Indigenous women, they've done it to Black women. It's known in history in its day, and it's still present here day to day. So the fact that people are saying like, oh my God, this is crazy, like, fuck yeah, it's crazy. It's something that we should have been talking about. We should have kept going about. And this is something that was super last minute, to the point where we're like, we knew that we had to come out and say it for the people, like say it for them, because at the end of the day, like, we're up north, but at the end of the day, like, it's still in the same territory, it's in the same land. It's still on indigenous land. And so, like, yeah, we just really believe that this is something that had to be urgent, had to be now, because people were talking about it now, and at the end of the day, if we did it next week, would it be the same turnout? We don't know. But that's why we had to do it now, because we had to talk about it. So that's a big reason why we did it.
And Isabel, can you talk about the significance of why you guys decided to have it right here on this corner in front of this statue?
Yeah, so we want to do it in front of the Zapateo statue, because this is like the only type of Latino representation we have here, even on Lake Street, even though we've been here for like since the 80s and 70s. And the fact that it's something that people look at and know that, like, oh, that's what we're at. That's our representation on the street, even though it should be all over, because our streets and our buildings, our businesses are literally all over, to the point where, like, you can't miss out on it. And so we really want to put that in effort to acknowledge who we are as people, and know that the majority of the women that's doing it to are Latino women, are like Indigenous women, Latinx women, my bad. And so we want to bring our identity to light because of it. So yeah.
And I know a lot of the speakers really highlighted the history of forced sterilization, of non-consenting hysterectomies. Why was it important to really highlight that in today's protest? Why did you feel like there was a huge need to reflect on history and compare it to what's happening modern day in Irwin County's detention center in Georgia?
Because at the end of the day, unfortunately, American history is one that always gets repeated because we never learn from our past, and I don't think we ever will. But also because we want to stand in solidarity with all the women out there that has gone through this. Indigenous women, Black women, again, like they're the ones that were having experimental treatments. They're the ones that they use as like dolls or whatever it is they want to call it to perform these things in the first place. And so we had to acknowledge the history because we had to acknowledge the people and the pain that they went through behind it. Something we couldn't leave behind is something that we even debated about in the name, because we even wanted to put like Black and Indigenous women within immigrants, but we knew that right now people would translate and understand immigrant right now for what's in the news. And so that's why for us it was so important to bring up that history of sterilization, because at the end of the day it's what binds us together, it's what unites us. And it sucks because like at the end of the day it's just a form of genocide. It's a form of colonization for all BIPOC women and all of our humanity and all of our life that we're trying to give to present day. So
when you think about that doctor who was performing these procedures, what does justice really look like for us, for our country, for those women who did not consent and still resulted with their uterus and their wombs and their ovaries being removed from their bodies?
Damn, I mean, like at the end of the day, it's like the damage is done, right? So I mean, like even if we do get justice, even if the guy gets in jail and you know everybody's held accountable for it, like they still can't get life, like they still can't get that power back that they have as a woman. So it's like at the end of the day, like you're literally taking away the power that women have, and you're using it in a way where you're destroying us and our humanity. So like I don't even know, it sucks to say, because like it's a pain we're always gonna have to live with. It's a pain that like it's present here now. And so like even if the guy gets like, I don't know, life sentence, even if the government comes out and say we're sorry, they all get citizenship, what are they gonna do then? They can't have children, like they can't. So it's something that I feel like it's more than just what the politics can decide. It's more than what we can get angry about, because ultimately they're no longer with that. It's a mourning that we all have to go through and understand, like a mourning of life, a mourning of power. So
anything else that you'd like to add?
I guess, Nick, thank you for everybody that came out, especially Kapolya Shnotli and all the interpreter dancer, Nayola, I think her name was, and all the different speakers that came out, because it was super last minute. And so we're just really happy that everybody came out. And yeah, I really hope people do their research. They call into the representatives. They do what they have to do. Educate yourself and just keep going, because at the end of the day, this is not a sprint. It's a marathon. We have to keep going. So, yeah.
Thank you, Isabel, so much. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is one of the organizers that you just heard from, Isabel Lopez, a youth activist, very active here in the community. We appreciate the work that you're doing. So if you're just joining us, we are at a Stop Sterilizing Immigrant Women event gathering. Folks here in Minneapolis standing in solidarity with women who were in Irwin County Detention Center who had forced hysterectomies without their consent. Some of them did not speak English, and folks here are standing up and saying no more. One of the dancers here, I'm going to see if maybe one of the dancers here would like to have a quick conversation with us. Reina, would you like to do a quick interview?
I'm shy. Yeah, do Reina. Okay, fine.
So one of the dancers today, who also was one of the speakers, Marianne, can you talk about the significance of why community are gathering today?
We're gathering today as, in recent news that came to light that there are women getting sterilized, getting their wombs removed, getting their rights removed in these cages that ICE puts us in. And so, as I shared with the crowd today, this isn't something that just happens like now. It's happened for generations in many different places of the world, in Puerto Rico, here in the Americas, to indigenous women all over the world. That's the way they stop our people from growing. That's the way they stop us from fighting, is taking away our women's rights, our wombs, the things that carry our seeds. the power that we have. And so we're here today in solidarity as dancers, as artists, as mothers, as women, coming out here to just let folks know that it's not okay. It's not okay. You know, this event came together last minute. We came in response to it. We hope it continues to gain momentum throughout the nation and throughout everywhere, because again, we can't just respond when it's out on CNN. We have to be able to continue the fight every day until it stops. And really, it's a systemic change that we need to do as a whole, not just addressing one issue at a time, addressing a symptom. And we need to address the whole disease, which is the whole system is sick, and we need to do an overhaul of it and plant medicine and healing, and that's making sure that our women are taken care of.
And Marianne, you're holding your 4-month-old baby. Can you tell us, how did you feel when you first heard that this was happening modern day in Irwin County Detention Center?
I couldn't imagine the pain that these women are going through to know that they came in for a simple procedure and came out knowing that a part of them has been removed, something so important that held the future, held their genes, their genetic makeup to pass on. And so it's been stolen from them. They've been violated, betrayed. And so for me to just imagine that, I couldn't fathom it, knowing that I couldn't think of what this world would be and what my life would be without my 5 children with me here in this earth right now.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Nothing. That I hope that, you know, Unicorn Riot keeps hitting the streets, providing the real news, real time to all of us out here who are just sharing truth. And so we want to say thank you to you and to all the supporters of Unicorn Riot. Put it where it is, you know, donate. And again, thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And so we have another one of the youth organizers and activists.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you recited some poetry today. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about the significance of why people gathered and why this issue is important to you?
Yeah, well, this issue, this issue is important because it's people that are being violated. It's their rights, it's their bodies, and it's just, all you got to see is another person's humanity, and you just got to see that's a person, and I'm going to fight for them. And that's why we're all here. That's why everybody comes to these type of things, especially when it's something that has happened for so long and it's so deep-rooted in our oppression. So, yeah, I don't know, did I answer the question? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sounds good. The poems, the first one, a close friend of mine wrote that, and it meant a lot to me because I've seen the pain that my mother has carried, that my sisters have carried, that my aunts. We all carry that every single day. So those poems are just like a homage to them, and just to respect them and keep their voices alive. So that's what those poems meant to me.
And as a young woman who's not a mother yet, and reflecting on what happened to these women, how does it feel to even imagine if that happened to you and someone took away your right to be a mother?
I mean, I think that first breaks my heart to even think that monstrosity is happening to somebody, and to wake up and that's your new reality is, I mean, you can't even put that in. I can't even imagine that. But that's happening to somebody. Like, I can't even fathom how the feelings and the heartbreak and the trauma that carries, and that you would feel if that happened to you. So thinking that that's my family right there. Like, everybody that's at those centers, that could be my family, and that is my family, you know? My family, we're from a border town, Ciudad Juarez, and I suppose type of shit like this all the time. And like we said before, like this isn't new. This continues to happen. There's a legacy of this, and that all carries really serious consequences in our community that we see all the time. So it just breaks my heart, and I think everybody that came out, it breaks everybody's heart because it's just such a monstrosity. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we're all here because we see each other's humanities and we want to fight for each other. So we just, like Issa said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And so we all just got to keep going.
Thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it. Thank you. If you're just joining us, we are streaming live from Lake and 12th in Minneapolis, where things are wrapping up. There was a gathering today called Stop Sterilizing Immigrant Women in light of what's been happening. What recently was unveiled about what happened in Irwin County Detention Center. More than a dozen women were reportedly forced to have a hysterectomy, and this came to light after a nurse, her name is Dawn Wooten, she kind of blew the whistle and just brought to light what was happening. Some of these women did not speak English, and so they were unaware of the procedure that had been performed on their body, and it just seemed very ironic after more than a dozen women said that they were taken to a hospital to have a procedure. It turned out to be a hysterectomy, and it just didn't add up. And so Dawn Wooten, a nurse there, she unveiled what was happening at Irwin County Detention Center. And the sad thing is just that the United States has a history, a long documented history of forced sterilization. And so people are standing in solidarity saying that this should no longer happen. We do have another individual here who we're going to interview. Can you tell us the importance of today's event and why you attended?
Yeah, well, actually, I'm one of the organizers with MIRAC, so it matters a lot to us. You know, this news came out this week, and we felt it was really important to act immediately and not wait on this. We know that the nature of the news media in this country is going to push this aside very quickly, so we need to grab this when it has the attention of people and really bring light to what's happening here, and also demand to know more about what's going on. We've heard from one nurse. We don't know how many facilities this could be happening at. We don't know how many women this has happened to. We need answers to these questions, and we all need to be pressuring our politicians and our government to get answers to these questions.
Absolutely. And so as an organizer, a lot of the speakers that you guys had come up and speak to the community today really highlighted the significance of the history and how this has not just happened, you know, modern day, but this is something that's been happening for centuries, and not just here in America, but globally. Can you talk about why that was so important for you guys to include in your lineup?
Of course. Well, of course, we wanted to certainly highlight that a lot of people are going to say this is unbelievable, but this is our country's history, and we should believe what our country has done in the past, and that's really important. We also need to understand that there is a worldwide epidemic of violence against women. This is just another hit against women in general. They're not doing this to men in these facilities as far as we know. This is about violence against women as a whole. And immigration in general is an issue about violence against women. So many people leave their countries because of the violence against women, and look at what they're presented with here, just more terror and more violence. We need to see that immigration is a feminist issue, and right now it is very much a pro-choice issue, and we need to have everyone standing together about this and to realize that this is our history. This is the history of the world, has not been here for women. And we need to see that and recognize our power as women and as organizers. We did this today because we felt it was necessary and because this is about our power that we have as women.
And can you talk about, you know, what people can do to prevent this from happening, to call for justice for where this has happened that we know about? People who are watching who really feel how severe this is and how damaging this is, what can they do?
Well, great question. I think first thing is you can contact your senator and representative and demand a transparent investigation into all ICE facilities, not just this one, because like I said, it could be happening anywhere. So we need transparent investigation into this. We also need an immediate resignation of the head of ICE, and we need an investigation into what has been happening in general in ICE detention centers. We know it's been dangerous during coronavirus, And before then, they were housing people under overpasses and in cages outside. We need a transparent investigation into this ICE system as it is. And mostly, we really need to abolish this system. It is not old. ICE only started existing, I believe, in early 2000s. This is not an old system, but it is, it's playing these old games. And we need to abolish this system and find a pathway to citizenship for all immigrants who are coming here. Because so often they are fleeing the imperialist violence that United States have put in their own lands.
Is there anything else that we didn't cover? Anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, I guess I would like to say that this is an intersectional issue in large part because the wall is being built on native land, on Tono Atum land, and this is important to understand who is an immigrant, because there are Native American women in these ICE detention facilities who were arrested on their land for being illegally on their land, and we need to recognize that this is about Native lives and that they need their land back. They need all of their land at the border back from Minnesota to here. Native Americans have a right to be on their lands, and all of those women need to be freed in this detention facility.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and for organizing this event.
Yes, thank you for coming out. We really appreciate it, you guys both. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, well, if you are just joining us, we are streaming live in Minneapolis, Lake Street and 12th Avenue, where over 100 people gathered this afternoon to stand in solidarity with individuals who are in Irwin County Detention Center. It recently came to light that there were forced hysterectomies, unconsented hysterectomies that were performed there by one specific doctor. And, if you know anything about the history here in America, forced sterilization has been a tactic of genocide and has been happening for centuries. And so a lot of the speakers from today's event actually highlighted that history from Puerto Rico to Mexico to even here in America with slaves. And then some of the research that we did prior to coming today led us to find that there was laws here just even 100 years ago in Virginia, the Racial Integrity Act, which allowed for sterilization of individuals who considered to be mentally ill. And that documented about 70,000 forced sterilizations. And so this is something that is not in our past, but is happening modern day. And so protesters, organizers have encouraged viewers and participants to continue to do their research. We're going to go ahead and take it down as today's gathering is coming to an end. I am Georgia Fort. Thank you to Nico, who is running the camera, and Chris, who is on core. We appreciate all of you for tuning into Unicorn Riot today.